Rob, last night, the Boston Celtics dispatch of the Dallas Mavericks in game one, 107-89. Wasn't much of a game except for a little run by the Mavericks in the third quarter where they cut huge. I think it was up to 20. Was it 29 points or something like that? They cut it to 8 in the third quarter.
But you got to use all your energy to get there.
Right.
Yeah. As soon as you do that, Chris, and then Boston ran off.
It might even been 33, I think, because we were talking about it, and that's when
I know it was
Steve
27 at one
over.
point. Was it?
Remember, he was like, "You got anything?" He was kind of joking, but in the update, he said, "You might want to do something else."
58 to 29, Chris, the biggest. 29 was the biggest.
Okay, so 29.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, "Hey, today's NBA, you never know."
Right.
But, they got within 8. But yeah, you're right. You use up so much energy
when you're down that big in the NBA. It's hard. It's just hard to maintain it. It happens once in a while. We saw that with Minnesota, right? Down by 20, and they came back to win. It happens, but it really is tough to come back from such a lead.
So what'd you think of the game? Deficit. I mean, do you feel – obviously you picked Boston to begin with, but do you feel like that was just indicative of what we're going to see and this thing is going to be a wrap? Or
I mean, one game, not a wrap. I just think I'm just looking at it from Boston's standpoint. Porzingis, Chris, looked fantastic. Like he's a matchup issue. Okay, so there's something that they didn't know what they were getting. He hasn't played in a month. He could have been rusty, could have missed every shot. Do you know what I mean? Like he could have come out not feeling good, and instead he looked spectacular. So that's a big plus. And then Tatum didn't play well. What was he, 6 for 16 from the field? So you win going away, and your best player didn't even play well. Like, I'm not saying that they're going to win by 40 next game, Chris, but you have to feel good about the kind of win they got in that spot to at least quiet the noise of people who are like the Celtics or this or that, and they struggle all the time, and they don't play pretty basketball and all this other stuff. They look like 64 wins during the regular season, 12 playoff wins, that's what they look like, and they got an important piece back. So nothing is over. I have them in 6, Chris. I'm sticking with that. I don't think it's over in 4 now because they won game 1 at home.
Right.
But I like what I saw. And the other thing is, I don't know, at some point, the Kyrie, he doesn't play well against them. Like the numbers,
he sure doesn't.
He just doesn't play that. I know we're going to get into it bigger. So I'm just saying all those things.
He better fix.
Yeah, because the numbers are horrendous. Like you said, we'll talk about them later, Chris. But what did you take away?
Well, look, Boston was definitely impressive. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They look good, and you're right. Tatum didn't really have a great game, but Porzingis was phenomenal. Phenomenal. And it's not just he averages 20. So some people might say, well, he had 20. That's what he does.
That's right.
But he got it in 20 minutes.
That's impressive, Chris.
He got it in 20 minutes. He did it on the defensive end. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better return than you got. I actually thought there might be a little feeling out process for him that, he wasn't able to get in during the Indiana series, maybe get a game under his belt. He might be rusty or just might be a little uncomfortable. But, man, he came in and took off right where he left off and played great. So that was good. But, yeah, they were impressive. But here's why I'm not concerned, and I picked the Mavericks in 6, because this is what they do, Rob. Since Jason Kidd's been there, they are 1-6 in game ones in the playoffs. 1-6. And even this year, they have struggled in game ones against the Clippers in round 1. They were down 29. And this is, Rob, the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard. And they had the Mavericks down by 29. They ended up losing by 12, but that was just a rally at the end to make it look decent.
Right.
And then they won 4 of the next 5 games. Dallas. Second round, OKC. All right, the big bad Thunder. They're whipping up the Mavs, leading by 25 in game 1. End up winning by 22. Mavericks adjust, win 4 of the next 5 games. So that's what they do. This game didn't look any much different from those 2 I just described, those other 2 game 1s. So I think they'll be fine. I don't think Porzingis, as good as he was last night, he's not going to do that every night. In the he's only played against Miami in the playoffs this season, but up and down. Good game, bad game. Good game, bad game. And the good games, he was nice. The bad games, he shot 2 for 14 combined. So he's not going to do that every night. And also, Rob, they're at home. And they have given up game 2, Boston, in their first 2 series. They gave up game 2 to Miami without Jimmy Butler and to Cleveland without Jarrett Allen. And Dallas obviously comes back and plays well in game 2s because they lose game 1, so they better. And I think Dallas gets game 2 on Sunday. And now we got us a real series. But, taking nothing away from the Celtics, they were great. You're right. Tatum didn't play well. Jaylen Brown was fantastic. Picked Luka's pocket a couple times.
That's the nugget there.
Had some blocks.
Yeah. If you're the Celtics, feeling like, you got game 1, you kind of put it out there. Yeah, we can play, and held them to 89 points. And I know that Kyrie had a terrible shooting night and has struggled against Boston. And now you look at that and say to yourself, Tatum comes back for Sunday. You got a lot of days to rest, get there, shake it out, and maybe you could go up 2-0 and then head on the road. So if you're Boston, you got to feel good. You're not behind the 8 ball to start. That's all you don't want, Chris, is you don't want to lose game 1. And then you got to win game 2.
Absolutely.
Like there's a big difference between that and coming into Sunday feeling like, we not to take it for granted, and
that's one of the things. And we've talked about being not as impressed with Boston as their 64 wins, and a big part of it, Rob, was that they play with their food too much. Meaning they just, when they get a little cushion, they just fool around a lot. Sometimes even in the midst of a single game, and they had no business losing game 2 to Miami without Jimmy Butler, but they played with their food. And then they blew them out the rest of the series. Similar thing with Cleveland in game 2 of the second round. So they've done that at times during the regular season. Remember, Rob, they lost to the Lakers without AD and LeBron. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that makes you say, especially, Rob, when they're young. And even though they've been to a lot of, conference finals and even 2 finals, they are a young team. And when they have gotten there, knocked on the door, and had it shut in their face. You know what I mean? You tend to probably judge them a little more harsher. And so, yeah, they, look, more power to them. If they win this series and prove that they were worthy of those 64 wins and all the accolades that came with it, then great for them. But until they do it, there will be doubters such as myself.
Yeah.
And
I just felt good going in, Chris, and I feel even better after that. Obviously, it's an easy, a comfortable win, but I think for me it was the Porzingis thing, because we even talked about it. Remember you were saying the way he paused and said, "Are you hurting?" or whatever. And you thought that, maybe that the Celtics should be worried or fans should be worried, and he came right out and was dominant.
He had a good answer for it, because I thought maybe was he, which would have been cool with me, but was that gamesmanship? You know what I mean?
Right.
Was he playing around, sending a message to the Mavericks, little misdirection? Oh, he's not 100%. And it looked like they didn't expect him to be, so maybe that it worked in that regard. But I think, like he said after the game, Rob, that he was like, well, I felt good, but I hadn't played or done anything. So I didn't really know. You know what I mean?
He hadn't played for a while, was it?
So that
April
was
29th?
38 or 39 days.
Yeah, that's
38
a long
days,
time.
I think. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense that he would be hesitant to just come out and, yeah, I'm great. And then you get out there and you play and you realize, man, I'm missing it. I'm not back. And so that was fine. But